Oh, there we are. All right. I think there we go. Now we're live.
Now we're
Awesome.
live.
Now we're live. Welcome, everybody. How's it going?
It's going well.
Can
Good.
Thank
everybody
you,
hear
What's
me?
up? Testing, testing. Yep, I hear you.
Anthony.
Very cool. Very cool. Looks like we have some odd labels on some people's names right now. So we'll go around the room here in a minute and we'll talk about why we're here. Um, but this is really exciting because this is the first discussion we're going to be having about our Secura product, our brand new Secura product. But really, the whole purpose of this discussion is to talk about how we keep people safe from the types of scams that we know about. And so we'll get into that here in a little bit. But first, I want to introduce the team because we've got just the most stellar team that exists in crypto, especially when it comes to safety, security, soundness, fraud prevention, fraud detection, and then in the worst case, recovery. But I'm going to start with my right hand man over here. I'm going to start with Mr. Anthony Striano, who has been with us the longest, maybe of anybody else in the community of BankSocial, but also at BankSocial. Anthony is now our head of Secura and our recovery teams over here at BankSocial. And so, Anthony, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Good. You stole my opening lines there, but I'm doing good.
I didn't
I'm
even
doing
know,
good.
but it's just
Yeah.
I didn't even know. But why don't you talk a little bit really quickly, just for those who don't know you, who you are,
Yeah.
what you're doing here, and why you're excited about what we're doing, what we're talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to John's point, I have been here since the very beginning, before the token even launched, and when the initial vision was just asset-backed lending on chain. It started out as growing the community and kind of just being an ambassador for the community, and from there, John and I made it official, and it transitioned to really just doing whatever it took to get this thing off the ground and carry the vision forward day after day, week after week, month after month, and to build the incredible team that we have here today. Um, I guess help what drives me the most has always been helping people. I've always kind of found myself wanting to help people in some form of fashion, and that doesn't always look the same, but maybe it comes from my grandfather. My grandfather was a homicide detective for LAPD for 20 plus years, decorated officer, and really lived his whole career in helping people, helping the less fortunate, helping people that were in some really tough situations. And so I guess it's in my blood. And I guess from the very beginning, in a way, we've always kind of been in the recovery business, John. When you built the initial BSL recoveries into the eSmart contract, so we were able to,
That's
you know,
right. We built the
pull.
first recovery mechanism ever in crypto. That's right.
Yeah, and we were able to recover a lot of people's money who were moved in unauthorized ways. So we were kind of already forward thinking in that way, and then last year, about a year ago now, we had an individual come to us who lost a substantial amount of money, and we didn't have a product or a service really. We didn't have any way to go about getting this guy's funds back. But we made the effort. I know for me, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe he was brought to us for a very specific reason, and so we did what we could on our end, and we actually ended up freezing millions of dollars in funds for this one individual. And from there, I guess you could say Secure Recovery was born. Again, there was no product, but we just kind of took it upon ourselves to build it from the ground up and make the necessary relationships with exchanges and law enforcement who you'll get to meet on the call today. And here we are.
Yeah, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And so we saw a need and we've been filling it ever since. Let me go ahead and move on to Madison, a face that you'll be seeing a lot more of here shortly. So Madison has a very unique background. She's an intern that's going to be working a lot on our social media. She's also a journalism major at a college here in town. We don't have to talk about which college, Madison. You're a family member of yours is actually in, which is this is amazing. Gurvis and Justin, this might throw you guys a kick, give you guys a kick, but her father, I believe, Madison, invented and is the co-founder of Ninjio, which is a training BSA AML compliance training platform. So she's got this in her blood as well. And she's a criminal justice major. Did I get all that right, Madison?
Criminal justice minor, but pretty close.
Well, tell us a little bit about kind of what you're doing while you're here. You could just be brief. I know we brought you on here last second, but we thought this would be really cool to have you here since you're going to kind of be one of our faces here on social media coming up. So give us what you can right now.
Yeah, definitely. So I, as John said, am an intern and I'll be here through my fall semester, but I'm just going to be working on all of our social media platforms, especially TikTok and Instagram, and just increasing our presence and our visibility to a big range of audiences, both fintech companies and individual consumers, and even young people like myself who maybe are just getting their foot in the door and want to learn more. But yeah, you will be seeing my face quite a few different places and hearing my voice a lot, I'm sure. And I'm super happy to be a part of the team and meet everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're happy that you're here. And one of the things that as kind of that liaison on social media, as you know, kind of one of the things you'll be doing, we definitely feel like you'll be engaging with some of those people because we see it so much. And Gurvis and Justin will get into this a lot deeper as they start talking about their experience. And just as we start giving some tips today on what can be done and how we can secure people's financial the sphere of their financial bubble around them. But a lot of these scams, they start on social media, they end on social media. And so that's why we wanted to introduce you guys to Madison, because it could definitely be that you're responding to her videos or you're responding to her engagements, and she could be one of the tip of the spears on somebody you're engaging with. So we wanted her to be here. She'll be a little part of today's call, but we wanted you guys to just see her face and know who she was, so you didn't think she was an AI if she ever popped up. But now I'm gonna jump over to uh, uh, two very exciting components of the team that have joined us recently. Mr. Gurvis Grigg, who's the former CTO of Chainalysis, and I'm not going to say much more than that. I'm going to let Gurvis tell us more than that. So, Mr. Grigg, tell us about who you are.
John, thanks again. It's great to be with your audience and with Anthony and Justin and Madison this morning, and you to talk a little bit more about what the exciting things that are going on at BankSocial and really in the larger crypto ecosystem. John and I had the opportunity to meet a number of months back through my work, as he mentioned, when I was CTO for public sector at Chainalysis, where I was for about 4 years. Had a great opportunity to join Chainalysis back in the day, thanks to Jonathan Levin, one of the co-founders and now CEO. It was a wonderful opportunity to really travel the world and talk with governments and agencies and organizations about the growing crypto ecosystem, how criminals were exploiting those for illicit gain. Prior to that, I spent 23 years in the FBI as a special agent and executive. My last position in the Bureau was the director of the FBI's crime lab in Quantico. So when you see all those TV programs about the FBI running fingerprints and DNA analysis or bomb fragments and the like, that comes out of the FBI lab. That was a great opportunity. I just kind of pinch myself sometimes to realize what a unique and special opportunity that was. I began as a special agent back, like I said, back in the late 1990s, working both violent crime as well as white collar, and then transitioned into counterterrorism and terrorist financing, perfecting a number of techniques and tracing capabilities to follow the money around the world as terrorists and other illicit groups were moving and hiding assets. So financial analysis and following the money is really in my blood. I get really excited about that. And now with the chance to do this in new money, as crypto is greasing the skids of commerce and making for frictionless transactions, really exciting. Law enforcement really is in my blood. Both of my grandfathers served in law enforcement during World War II, and I really count it a privilege to have worked alongside some of the best and finest women and men that I've known. So really great opportunity to be here today with you, and look forward to contributing however I can.
Awesome. And we're so excited and honored to have you on as a strategic advisor at BankSocial here, Gurvis, and just are so grateful for your presence and all the advice and you know trajectories you've put in front of us that have been so successful. And last but certainly not least, Justin, we could also say not to say anything about the rest of you, but we could say we saved maybe the best for last, but that's probably not right either. But certainly not the least, the last but not least. And so, Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about, and Justin actually has joined us on more of a full-time basis as part of the BankSocial team, as opposed to Gervis. You're more of like a strategic advisor at this point. But Justin is boots on the ground in our Secura team, helping on the day to day. But Justin, give us a little bit of your background and tell us why you're here.
Sure. Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it. And it's great to be a member of the BankSocial family. So before I get into my previous work employment with Secret Service, I've also been a BankSocial community member since the day the token launched. I was day one buying the token. I was actually I hate to say, I was at my daughter's soccer game, and I'm supposed to be watching her play, and I was actually glancing at my phone and making purchases along the way. I did see most of the game, but don't tell her I said that. But
Now
20
this is
years.
public now, so in 20 years she's going to see this and be like, "What the heck, Dad?"
Yeah. Well, hopefully buy her a brand new big house and a Ferrari with all the earnings. So I've been with Secret Service, or I was with Secret Service for 25 years. I started back in May of 2000. Did 25 years, just retired this May 31st, and started with BankSocial a few days later, June 2nd. My last 8 years with the Secret Service, I ran our financial crimes task force, and it was made up of the Connecticut State Police, several federal agencies, and about 25 local police departments around Connecticut. A great group of individuals, and we targeted criminals that that went after people's finances. And at the beginning of my career, I started basically just going after criminals that were counterfeiting currency. That's what we kind of the Secret Service was founded on in 1865, counterfeit currency investigations. So back in 2000, that was a major crime still going on. People were bleaching $5 Federal Reserve notes and making them into $100 bills. People were running copier notes and printer notes and going to stores and passing these funds and weakening the U.S. economy. Times have changed. When I left the Secret Service back in May, we transitioned more into digital criminal actions. These criminals now work better or work more behind keyboards, stealing people's funds, and it's harder for them to get caught. And a lot of the crime we're seeing now is from overseas suspects who, it's difficult to go after. You have to have working relationships with these other countries, and it's just difficult to arrest these folks. And they move around, they go to country, they scrub their computer equipment, and it's very difficult. So what we focused on in my task force, is recovering funds for victims. And that was what we really truly thrived on, was getting people's funds that were stolen back in their pocket. And by doing so, you're also hurting these criminals stealing the funds, because you're stealing the funds, not stealing, but you're taking the funds back from them and giving it back to the victims. So I myself became a victim about 4 or 5 months ago, and my wallet was compromised, and I lost a significant portion of my BSL tokens and HBAR tokens. And being a community member at BankSocial, I had nowhere to turn. I reached out, and on Telegram, and Anthony reached out to me immediately. And within that day, and it was on a Sunday, it was during the weekend, he was on the phone with me. He helped trace funds. He helped coordinate with the Secret Service and other task force officers in the following week. And during that time frame between BankSocial's efforts and federal, state, local agencies, we were able to seize the suspect's account overseas and and work on getting those funds back into a government-controlled wallet here in the United States, where they sit now. And at some point, I'll petition for those funds back and have a solid chance of getting my money back. And after doing that, Anthony and I spoke a while, and he asked me to come aboard BankSocial. And this is what I love to do, is help people, and BankSocial is all about helping their community members. So it was an easy fit, and I've been there, since June 2nd, and I love it here, and it's really like a family. So, I appreciate you guys having me here at BankSocial.
Well, those are some amazing experiences that you both have. We're not going to make this all about product. We want to also give people some tidbits and takeaways today. We'll talk about a little bit about how secure recovery works and some success stories that we have had later on with essentials and with recovery. Certainly, you've heard about one or two of them here this morning. We've been able to recover millions, but it's also about protecting yourself. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And between Gurvais and Justin, they've probably seen not everything, certainly. And even Anthony at this point. I mean, we've seen so many different, Anthony, AI scams. I mean, now the scams are getting so sophisticated that they're spinning up AI botnets, and that's how they're attacking people, and all that with a little bit of how Coinbase and people are attacking Coinbase users, and they're utilizing inside threat actors. But let's talk through a little bit of what you guys are seeing out there now, and what are best practices people can use, because the you can't protect the person, even at a bank, right? Like a bank can't keep you from sending money somewhere if you absolutely want to send money. It can put in all the red flags and warnings and all that, but legally they can't stop you from sending your money. So at the end of the day, it lands on the person, it lands on the human. And so what we wanted to do today was, if we can leave a handful of people on today's call, or even more than that, with the things to look out for, the things to be aware of. And we're going to start doing these more frequently so that more people can get these knowledge, and we can start updating that, because these scams are updating. But I want to turn it back over to Gurvais, Anthony, and Justin here. And feel free, whoever wants to kind of first take a crack at it. But what are the kinds of scams that we're seeing now, and how can people just generally protect themselves in today's digital age? Who wants to take that?
I want to hand it to the experts first. Gurvais or Justin, you guys,
I'll
please.
jump on it real quick. So since working with BankSocial these last month and a half, we've seen a lot of folks coming in that have been scammed out of their cryptocurrency, and it comes down to a lot of it's the basics. It's the seed phrase. It's people that come to us are like, I knew better, but I still thought that this was the right approach, and I needed to put my seed phrase in to help retain my or get my token back to safety. So what's happening is a lot of people are receiving text messages saying, if you didn't authorize this transaction, type no. And people are typing no, and right there it gains trust, because it's the person on the other end, coming to them trying to help them. And in reality, that's actually the scammer. So now they've got you, and they're reaching out to you, and they're like, oh, okay, well, your account has obviously been compromised, so you need to, go in. They send them a link, and they click the link and just put in your seed phrase, and then it'll unlock. It'll make sure that your account is locked down and safe. And that's what they're doing. And they, the folks are saying they knew better, but they still, anytime you get a text message or call, an email that has urgent on it, you got to take a breath and pull back and be like, okay, let me take a minute here, because a lot of those are scams when they're trying to get you to move quick. And so that's one of the things that we're seeing a lot. And I know, I'll let these guys take over and pitch a couple other ideas as well.
Yeah, Justin is
well, we've
right
also
on.
seen. Oh, go ahead,
No,
Gurvais.
John, please.
No, please go ahead. I
was
was
gonna say,
just going to
Justin
say
is
something about. Please, you go. You're the expert, not me.
no, that. But Justin is on point. I mean, really, when you look at the vectors or the ways in which these criminals come after individuals, it really comes in three ways. There's technical exploits, which we can get into, everything from seed phrase theft to phishing and malware schemes, drainers and clippers and info stealers, all these ways that they use technical exploits to get in and steal your vital information. The second way, and probably the most effective, is social engineering, and that's impersonation schemes. And they typically do, as Justin said, they play off of that emotional response. You got higher brain, lower brain. And when you can tap in to a person's key emotions of fear and greed, they are powerful motivators. And then you combine that with a romance scam and you've locked someone. And then in the third way, of course, there are these malware driven attacks where they're coming in with fake wallets and malicious apps and malicious token drops. And these scammers are getting more effective. In the early days, we saw large scale exchange hacks, and those of course still happen. But what we're seeing, a disturbing trend, is the growth in what we call these personal wallet compromises. Because as more and more people bring wealth to the blockchain, we're seeing this growth in personal wallets, of course, and it should. And these scammers are realizing their defenses may be lower than what they're trying to break into these larger exchanges. And it still doesn't mean they're not coming after exchanges. I mean, we saw the Bybit hack, the largest hack in history. 1.5
Well, we
billion.
saw the Coinbase. We saw the Coinbase individual attacks where insiders were getting at Coinbase people, and you didn't even have to give up your seed phrase, right? Like they were
No,
just convincing you because they were from the inside.
that's right. That's right.
And they knew, yeah, they had such deep PII on people. They knew so much information that they convinced people
Well,
that they were who they say they were.
and they were calling people back after you clicked the button in the app. They were calling people back after you clicked the app in the trusted app, even, right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a callback feature on Coinbase, which I didn't even know existed, but there's a callback feature, and we've had people come to us that clicked that callback feature on the actual
We
Coinbase
watched it.
website,
We
logged
watched
in
it
with their
happen in real
multi-factors. It
time.
was a real website, and we watched it.
Yeah.
And within 10 seconds, got a phone call back. And I mean, how could you not fall for that? I mean, how could you think you were speaking to anyone else but a Coinbase employee at that
Well,
point?
and they were speaking to a Coinbase, but that kind of goes to the heart of what's going on here. It's like if your wallet is compromised and they're telling you to move the money, it doesn't make sense because if it was compromised, they'd have already taken your money, right? It's like, hey, if somebody's
Yeah.
reaching out saying your wallet has been compromised, you need to move the money. If the wallet's compromised, it means the money already gone. If it's not, it's probably not compromised, right? That's how we see most of these. So what can people do, Gurvais and Justin? Like, what are the outside of, we'll talk about Secura and some protection mechanisms that we can layer on top. But again, as humans, what are the psychological responses that people should take? Or, what are the mechanisms or what are the mindsets that people should be in when they get reached out to by people or
Well,
these scammers?
I think initially people have to slow down, take a breath, and just pause. Anytime you see something that's urgent, just take a pause and collect yourself. And I think a lot of this can be mitigated by simple AI checks, like the number that's coming in that's reached out to you. You throw that number into AI, and sometimes it'll spit back, this is a common scam number. So a lot of it can be mitigated right off the bat. And then some metadata that can be looked at on some of the the email links you get if you hover over it and stuff. But and a lot of things that people need to pay attention to is social media sites like Discord and Telegram. They're great places to be at. You learn a lot of information on these places, and I'm on them as well. But anytime somebody DMs you first, it's 99.9% a scam, and especially it's the token developer DMing you, and all of a sudden you think you're getting this other token for free by entering your seed phrase or clicking a link. Never trust that. It's easy to spoof names on these social media sites that you think you're talking with somebody that you're not. And never switch over. If you're on Discord and they say switch over to Telegram, or you're on Telegram and they actually switch over to Discord, just to get you off that other platform, so other people aren't telling you, hey, this is a scam, and warning you. So you just have to be very vigilant. And the way I do it is anytime somebody speaks to me, it's probably a bad way to do it, but anytime someone reaches out to me or speaks to me, I automatically think it's a scam, and then they have to prove themselves otherwise.
Yeah, begin first with that assumption. Unfortunately, in today's world where what is true and what is authentic is getting harder and harder to disambiguate. You've got to begin with a level of skepticism. And two, you've got to have established ground truth ways of verifying that the person you're speaking with really is or represents what they say they do. And so I never click on links that I receive through email. Those are convenience factors that many legitimate businesses send, but it's also a way of compromise for illegitimate actors. So if my bank reaches out to me and sends me an email, it says, click here to check your balance, I know how to contact that bank. I already know other authenticated ways to engage my account, and I'm not going to use the one offered up to me through a text message for convenience, right? And like most anything, education and awareness. I can't tell you how many times when you get underneath these sad stories, you find out that they were able to exploit some type of literacy gap on the part of the victim, or even these victims who are very literate. They're moving fast. They're in the middle, just like Justin. They're at their child's soccer game and they're moving fast. They're trying to watch the kid on the field, and they're also trying to finish that transaction. Be focused, be in the moment, doing what you're doing, because that's another social engineering way to play off that sense of urgency.
And that's really where, when you kind of look at this, what it really comes down to is being able to calm yourself in the moment, right? And then have a set of trusted sources, whether that's a database you can look it up against, whether that's a person you can reach out to, whether that's an AI you can talk to. And i.e., that's why we created Secura, for this exact purpose, right? The ability to have your wallet automatically scan websites. Like, we've seen Cyrillic letters being used in websites where it makes the domain name look like a legit domain name, but if you actually look at the letters in the domain name, they're Cyrillic letters that are sending you to a different place. And so, as a human, it's very hard, when you're connecting your wallet to a D app, it's very hard for you to determine if that's legit or if that's not. But with Secura and with the Secura Essentials platform, we have the ability to have AIs and state checks. And Gurvais, this is how we met, right? We integrated our wallet and our Secura with Chainalysis. So in real time, endpoints are being scanned, right? Wallet points are being scanned, and you're getting real-time insights coupled with AI insights, coupled with third-party scanning insights that are going to let you know, if you're putting yourself in a compromising situation, even when you think you're in a completely safe and trusted environment. And then, the ultimate is, what if you don't know? Who can you reach out to? We wanted to be that trusted source with a group of people who really understands financial crimes, who really understands the financial space, that you can always just reach out to right in the app, right? When you have a question, we're right there. We can answer you right now. We can answer you right there. And then for that ultimate protection of, holy crap, I still made the mistake, I still sent the money. I think just the other day we had a situation. I watched it with our new Secure platform, our new recovery flow. We had a scam come in, and I think within 20-30 minutes we had the funds frozen at the exchange. And it wasn't millions of dollars. It was like 10, 15, $20,000, if I'm not mistaken, right, Anthony, Justin, something like that.
Yeah, it was about $10,000. Yep.
Yeah. And so, we with Secura and with BankSocial, we wanted to create a comprehensive platform that was there to mitigate any of those future issues to the best it could, but also to be somebody that you can call in the worst case scenarios, that you knew had your best interest in mind, and that you knew was going to expend all efforts to ensure that no rock was left unturned, no source, no output was left unchecked, and that if there was an opportunity to go recover those funds, that you were in the best hand possible. I mean, a lot of times we just see that within those first, and look, I'm not just a person who's been building this stuff, we've seen it firsthand. We've lived through it firsthand. We've felt the panic. We've felt what it feels like to be in those situations. And so we built this of not just capability, but compassion, right? And understanding that it's more than just getting the funds back. It's also knowing who to call and who to talk to and how to get your mind in the right state, because that's half of winning, is being in the right state of mind to perform those next steps in a fashion that puts you in the best position to get those funds back in the worst case scenarios. Maybe Justin, Gurvais, you guys know a lot more about the psychology of scams and the post scam psychology. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit, because I know so many times we get people that reach out to us, and rightly, they're panicked, right? They are utterly panicked. And it doesn't matter if it's 10 grand or $1 million. It's the same panic, right?
Yeah, and I agree with that. And it's nice to see in Telegram, in the BankSocial Telegram, when somebody asks a question, and immediately we do a pretty good job on Anthony or one of the mods going in and say, go through the app and go through live support. Right there, it takes away the feeling that, hey, all right, whoever reaches out to me, I'm not getting scammed. You're not going to get like, hey, reach out to me, or someone's DMing you immediately trying to talk to you. So, it's a great system.
Yeah, as I was hearing that discussion, John, it popped into my mind this image of fire service, right? Back in the day, as people lived out on small, disparate farms, if there was a fire at someone's house, it only affected that house. But as people began to congregate and live in denser, packed cities, right, you have a fire breakout, could take out half the city. And so as people began to aggregate in that, they began to realize, hey, what are there things we can do to prevent large-scale destruction? And the professionalization of fire service, the training equipment that began to emerge, as well as how houses are being built. So in this environment, when it happens, like whether it's 10,000 or a million, it's life impacting for these victims. And so professionalization and speed of response become critical, and knowing who you can go to. So many times when we hear the sad stories that Justin and I have seen throughout our careers, it happens. One, they may not have even detected it have happened for some time. But even when they do, then they wonder, what do I do? Who do I call? How do I operate? And the worst scenarios are then the scammers actually impersonate people who can help them, reach back out to them and say, I understand your crypto's been stolen. Let me help you recover that for a fee of, and then they pay them the money and they scam them a second or third time. So knowing who to call and a speed of response so that you can have these successful outcomes like the examples we've heard on the call, where, moving quickly, there's a greater chance. And these scammers, as they steal this money, it's hard to launder a lot of money. You've got to run it through a series of filters and hops. And so there's a chance that money is still on chain somewhere at a compliant exchange, that if you can trace it fast enough, then freeze orders can be put in and the recovery process can begin. Because the worst thing is letting them get away with it and keep the money they stole.
Well, and that's the silver lining of blockchain. And when we talk to regulators and when we talk to financial institutions and we're helping them understand how payments are moving on chain, and pretty soon everything's going to be moving on chain. When we show them chain analysis, when we show them the ability to monitor those funds no matter where they are in the universe, that just doesn't exist with traditional banking. If money goes to Chase from your bank account via some scam, we see a lot at title companies, and we just all over the place. When that money goes there, it's almost impossible to trace, right? Everything has to be done through human contact at the next endpoint. And with blockchain, you don't have that challenge, and you can move much faster. I think we're even seeing some of our recoveries have even been months old, right? There's a whole bunch of ways to go after funds, even a long time. But you're right, Gurvais and Justin, having that speed out the gate, where if within 24 hours, we're reached out to, the chances of recovery are much higher than if they're weeks and weeks and weeks old. And we've seen it time and time and time and time again. But even in those cases where it's weeks old or months old, we still encourage people to reach out. And you hit the nail on the head, Gurvais. So many times I've seen where these groups, they'll congregate around an individual who maybe posted their wallet online. They stole your funds. They know how much money you have everywhere. And then they just work to get as much money out of you as possible. Like we've seen it with, like, for example, they have these RIA groups where they say, oh, invest in this. And then, oh, to release your money, we need another, you need to pay the taxes on the money you've already paid. And they just keep draining. There's so many mechanisms. They convince you that if you just send a little bit more, you're going to be in good hands. And so with Secura, we also wanted to eliminate that as being a consideration that you had to take. And that's why we do the Secura Essential subscription. If you have the NFTs, you can go buy one of those NFTs and that gives you lifetime support and subscription. By the way, it doesn't just have to be in the BankSocial wallet. We wanted to make this so that you're protected anywhere, any digital asset, any chain, any wallet. You don't even have to hold the funds in the BankSocial wallet to be covered. You just need to come in, have a subscription, whether that's through the lifetime NFT or whether you pay for the monthly or yearly subscription. You're covered for all circumstances and all engagements. And then we don't ask for additional funds when we go after that full recovery in the worst case scenarios, right? We work, and there are some fees that we take post recovery when we are able to recover those fees, but the whole goal here is you shouldn't have to make a decision on if going after 10,000, if paying thousands to go after 10,000 is the right decision. Your only decision should be, I need help, are you the right people to help me? And we want to make that a yes. And so we've structured and set up Secura. Obviously, we've got 60, 70 years of experience on this, just alone on this call here. And that doesn't even take into consideration the great law enforcement relationships we've built across the country and really across the world. We became the first company. It's really cool, Gurvais, that you're here with us now, because I think Chainalysis was the first company to get an indictment with on-chain data through the United States Supreme Court. And then we became the second company in the world and the first to do it internationally with the Singapore Supreme Court. And so, the level of experience and the data and the outcomes and the scam types and the way we need to encourage people to reach out, not have to think twice about it, and put them in the best position, whether it's pre-scam, post-scam, to know that they're in a situation they shouldn't be in. And if they're in that situation, how we can put them in the best position to get out of that situation. That's really the goal with Secura, and the reason why we brought together this incredible team that really cares. I mean, the biggest thing that I take away from this, and when I talk with Gurvais and when I talk with Justin and Anthony, away from this is they care. The number one thing above all else is they actually care. Justin's story about him calling Anthony on a Sunday and Anthony working with him, for hours and hours and hours, and having that successful outcome. We didn't do that because Justin paid us tens of thousands of dollars, or we were trying to, help a friend out. We did that because we care about people. And that to me is the most important piece of Secura that's hard to replicate, is the care for the people and care for the outcomes.
Yeah, John, that was great. You guys were wonderful. And the whole thing with you guys helping people, and Anthony and I take calls every day with victims. But to be honest, if we could, work ourselves out of a job, I would be happy.
And that's all our goals too, right? Like we say that all the time.
And that's Secure Essentials, really. Like, how do we get into the preventative side of this and not just the recovery side? Because the recovery is great, it's critical, it's necessary, but how do we prevent people from getting scammed? And to your point, John, you spoke pretty extensively on Essentials, but utilizing AI to get in front of a lot of these deep link scams, for example, clicking links, that Gurvais was mentioning. If we can have something pre-scan that link before taking you to the website that says high risk, don't go here. That's what I want to do. I want to prevent these from happening. The recovery is a good part of it, but I want to ultimately prevent these from happening, because the stories, and to Justin's point, getting on calls with these people every day, it's heart-wrenching. And I speak from personal experience. I speak from the experience I've shared with others. that it's not a great feeling, and I want to do everything that I can to prevent this from happening again to the same person, and also educate the victim enough so that they can go out and help people, because now they have a story, and with their story they can go out and touch another person. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's some random person that they just meet, but now they have a story and they have a voice, and they can go and hopefully prevent this happening to someone else.
An informed and protected consumer base slows and stops these kinds of threats. We used to say when I was in the bureau, if you're standing with your partner and you're both looking down into the crater, that is not the time to meet your partner and learn about this threat. You need to be doing that ahead of time, and then maybe there won't even be a crater. And that's the way it was. I mean, none of us, you can't go out and buy a house in the United States without having to have proof of insurance to protect against future potential loss. And nobody wants to ever have a house fire, and maybe it will never happen, but we've got to be protected. And as you become educated and invest in protection and awareness, we can slow this and stop it.
Absolutely. And this is where we've had, we showed you guys our embedded wallet the other day in our financial institutions. And this is a lot of these techniques and technologies are the same techniques and technologies we're employing in the financial institution itself to help scan transactions. We caught, a few weeks ago, month ago, maybe, we turned on our system in a financial institution, and within a few hours we caught an account that was moving money. It was an 8-month-old account, and it was moving money, and the account should have been shut down 7 months and 28 days ago, because our AIs noticed patterning and behavior that was not normal, that was high risk patterning and high risk behavior, and suggested that we shut it down, and actually in real time adjusted the experience so that the user, based on those hits that we had, the automated hits that we had, could not send those funds out. And so, we're not just focused on the pure crypto, pure consumer, although that is a huge focus of ours. We're also focused on how we make these financial systems more resilient end to end. And so we really do, Gurvais, to that point you just made about having, it's hard to call it an insurance, but maybe more of an assurance of knowing that you have somebody to talk to, a system that's constantly monitoring and constantly looking at things. And then in the worst case, you have that assurance that there's somebody there that's going to pick up the phone and put you in the best position possible. And that's, at the end of the day, that's the only thing I think we can all hope for in these situations. Because I've dealt with, no offense to the Secret Service and the FBI, and I don't mean this, they have to deal with tens and tens and tens of thousands of reports. And so how do you filter the signal from the noise, right? I mean, we've even seen, Gurvais and Justin, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but we've seen where the scammers will come in and file online police reports to try to get funds back, to try to unfreeze funds that we've frozen in various places. The scammers will file police reports. And so how do these police officers and these law individuals and systems break through that noise and find the signals? And it's not always easy to do, right? And that's why you can't just pick up the phone. And I know so many people are frustrated, but that's not a shortcoming of the FBI. It's not a shortcoming of the Secret Service. It's just the systems and the way they're having to retaliate against just the vast amounts of fraud that are in the space. And it's why we've had a great success talking to the FBI and engaging with them and engaging with the Secret Service to help when we can filter out the noise, when we can find the signal that results in recovery, arrest, all those components that turn into successful outcomes. That's really the power of this team, the power of Secura, and the power of BankSocial shines through in filtering out that noise, finding the signal, and then putting the best resources on that signal possible, right? Because we see so many people, they get frustrated when they do an IC3 report. Like, an IC3 report is not going to get you a police call back. That's not the point of it. It's a data aggregation point, right, Justin? Right, Gurvais?
Yeah, correct. I mean, it's great to have, and
Oh,
combine that with your local police report, and we sent. Yeah, you're coming in a little broken, John.
Yeah,
The re-
you're still here. It's just broken, John.
the rest of us can still hear and talk though. There we go. uh, yeah,
Go
so
ahead,
like I was
Justin.
saying, the IC3 and the local police report, they're great things to have, and they definitely help when we're trying to recover funds. So we always recommend folks go to your local, law enforcement, get the report, get the police report, fill out the IC3. Uh, we've had cases where years have gone by and then a victim received funds back because they did fill out an IC3, and down the road they correlated those cases, and they had seized funds from a suspect, and they went back and found out who the victims were, and and gave them back some of their funds that were stolen. So it's definitely worth something to do, and we use it when we send this to exchanges to try and freeze your funds. So we always recommend it.
And having a networked public-private partnership approach is the best and strongest solution. Having people like Justin and Anthony who have that experience and as that are really passionate about that. Not only they know what they're doing, but they care about that. Working together with law enforcement, these things can get done because a single tree sitting out in the middle of a pasture is only as strong as itself when the wind blows. But in a forest where all the roots are interconnected, it's a much stronger environment. And so being able to look for effective ways to combine both public and private partnerships to network to accomplish this, the victims stand their best chance.
Gurvais, I have a question for you. Justin and I have talked about this at length, but what do you think it's going to take for a lot more of these exchanges to kind of step up in a more compliant way and work with private companies like BankSocial? Because right now, when we reach out to an exchange, it's very different when we reached out to the exchange when Justin was with the Secret Service and he has a .gov email and they're like, oh, okay, this guy's really with law enforcement versus when we reach out as just a private company and it's just us, the response is very different from the exchanges. Do you think we're heading to a place where private companies are taken more seriously in recovery efforts? Or do you think there's always going to need to be the intermingling of private and law enforcement together to go after
Well, there's
stolen
always going to
assets?
be a level of intermingling that must occur because of legal authorities. But I do and would like to think that we are seeing a blending of this environment. Listen, it's impossible for any single entity or company to be the best and expert at every dimension, right? And that's why individuals have now turned to cloud providers to be able to do their data hosting. They've turned to others to help manage part of their security aspects because they realize that as we can employ a team of teams, we've got our best chance of having an integrated solution for success. So I would like to think that that is the future of where this is going as these exchanges realize that they can bring in partners that can help specialize in dimensions. It also keeps their overhead down because they're not having to maintain all of these different dimensions and be the best at everything. Because when you try to be the best at everything, you're going to be mediocre at many things. So yeah, I do think that is the case. You have some that are quite good and are more niche, but I do see a blending of that environment.
And completely agree with you on the, you can't be great and you can't be the best at all things. And I know that there does need to be collaboration on all fronts. And Justin, I was saying that you and I have talked at length about this. Do you want to share a little bit about that before we wrap this up?
Sure. Yeah, and I agree with Gurvais 100%. Like there's always probably going to be that relationship that has to be had between government agencies and private companies, and then you throw in some law firms that are trying to do a great job as well, and you're starting to see that asset recovery in some of these law firms that are going after funds as well. I mean, you take the three of them and you combine it, and you have a really powerful team. But at the end of the day, as we're seeing, Anthony, some of these exchanges overseas, depending on which one you're dealing with, you have a different level of working relationship. And I think as we progress and crypto progresses, I think that's going to change where they're all going to start floating to the top and really want to work with government and private companies like BankSocial, just because they're going to have to at some point. I think it's going to trend in that direction where they can't rely all the time on law enforcement to do it. There's not enough law enforcement agencies and agents and personnel out there to cover all these criminals and all this crime. So at some point, those reins have to loosen up a little bit, and they're going to have to hopefully vet some of these private companies. And once they're vetted and they're known to be a legitimate private company trying to do good for victims like we are here at BankSocial, then I think they'll start working with us more. And I'm hoping to see that in the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah, and Anthony, as these private companies get better at doing and putting together these potential prosecutive and investigative packets, it makes the job of law enforcement so much easier. And you want someone to be able to walk in to that place of business overseas and lay on hands and put them in handcuffs and walk them back out. You want that red notice in Interpol when that guy tries to fly through LaGuardia or tries to go through a connecting in London to be pulled off of his flight and put into jail. You want to be able to have that reach into these foreign jurisdictions through law enforcement cooperation. So I think the ability for industry to do a better job at putting together and gathering that information, doing that investigative legwork, and being responsive in a timely fashion to law enforcement inquiries, and keeping these victims and customers updated on the progress makes for a really better approach.
Absolutely and completely agree with both of you. Well, we're almost at the 30-minute mark of this call. So real quick before we wrap up, last remarks from both Justin and Gurvais. If you guys can kind of just high level your closing remarks and maybe some things, last minute things that people can do to make sure that they're doing their best to prevent any future scams from happening, because they're out there, they're not going to stop. I get text messages daily. I'm sure people get text messages and emails on a daily basis. So, last remarks on what people can do to protect themselves, and then, I'll finish and we can leave it with that.
Sure. I'll start by saying that, like I said a few times in this podcast, people just need to really slow down. These urgent matters always need to take pause and gather your wits about you. Go get a couple different opinions. I always recommend, if you can download the BankSocial app and go through there to live chat, live support, you're going to get someone who's not going to be a criminal, not going to be trying to victimize you or re-victimize you. Anthony and I have dealt with people who are outside our ecosystem just because we care about people. It's not a matter of, oh, you have to be a part. No, you don't. Like, if someone wanted to call me and reach out to me, I'll talk to anybody just to help them through. If they think they're being a potential victim, then, please reach out, and, we're here to help. And yeah, that's it. Stay safe out there and use AI to do some checking for you. Everyone can be their own detective and do some of the upfront research and themselves, just running phone numbers and email addresses and stuff through AI databases just to check for, if anyone else has put that in as a scam or potential scam. So just be safe out there.
I would echo that. I'd say, be careful who you trust your money with. All right. Spend some time and invest in yourself to be educated and keep up with what are some of those latest trends and how you can better protect yourself. Look at what you can do to give yourself assurance, like John said, that can give you that type of protection. I mean, we all have smoke detectors in our house for a very good reason, because we want to be alerted as soon as there's a potential issue so that we can do that. Become educated on where to go and who to talk to in the unfortunate event this happens. We talked about this in the prep call. Our hope is that there's someone on this call that, as a result of this or watching this later on a rebroadcast, that they will never become a victim because they did invest in education and they were more wary. Or, God forbid, if there is someone who has become or becomes a victim, or someone they now have a pathway to know what they can do to potentially recover their money and restore what was taken from them. That would be my hope and our hope. And you've got great people like Justin and Anthony who are there for you to walk you through that in a platform that cares about the safety of your resources and money.
Well, I for one want to thank you both so much, both Justin and Gurvis. You guys are masters at what you do, and you've been such a great help to us, and have given such great advice to not only myself but our team and our company and now our community. And I'll leave it with this, and this kind of just goes back to the basics. No one from any team that is legitimate is going to reach out to you and ask for your seed phrase, ask you to connect your seed phrase, is going to send you a new seed phrase so that you can transfer your assets because it's safe. There's no CEO of a company that is sending you an airdrop link because you're going to get rich off this new airdrop token. I mean, these sound like very basic things, but you'd be surprised how many people fall for this because they are convinced that they're talking with a CEO of a company or the head team member of the community or the owner of the crypto wallet. It's not legitimate. They're not reaching out to you, and you just have to stay vigilant as you possibly can out there. I just, again, I want to thank you guys so much for your expertise and sharing with our community. And it does look like John's back on. John, are you there?
I am here. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. We're doing closing remarks. You want to end us off?
I would echo all of your statements.
Are the same in this space in finance in general. You've got to be able to have your wits about you. You also need to know where to go in the worst scenario. You've got to know where to go when the worst happens, when the worst events end up happening. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're.
Thank you, Justin and Gurvis, so much, and Anthony, for all
compassion and expertise you bring to this ecosystem. It's not just about our community. It's not just about the BankSocial community. This is about financial wellness in general. It's about financial protection in general and financial livelihood. We've seen so many people lose their life savings. And if they just knew where to go and who to call, regardless of if they had their, we have tons of people. I'm not going to name platforms because I'm not going to call anything out, but literally every wallet you could ever think of that you've ever heard about has had issues with it. And you just got to know what to do and how to keep yourself safe, and then how to work in the worst case, who to call in the worst case. And I'm so excited and happy that we're able to bring, at minimum, the education and the people who care to the crypto worldwide, really, not just here in the United States, worldwide. And it's been an honor working alongside all three of you. So thank you so much today. This has been amazing. We're going to do an educational series around Secura probably once a month or so, just to keep people briefed on what's happening, what's going on, what threat landscapes are looking like, how they're changing. Quantum compute is doing so much more. We were just having a call with a company yesterday about quantum resistant cryptography. So expanding key length sizes and changing key length sizes so that there's no pattern recognition, changing entropy on each subsequent data hash of the same payload so that you can't
basically
hashed or encrypt data, because even though it might not be data that you can get now, they can still say, oh, look, that looks like the same person. So there's so many things
today, but I feel like we're in the best position in the world to
tools and then to equip them into financial institutions and put them right in the hands of people so they're protected at all times. So thank you, everybody, so much. This is fantastic. We'll talk
Real
to you
quick, John.
Yo.
Real quick, John, can you hear me?
Yep.
So I just wrote you in Slack, but you kind of already shared something yesterday, but do you want to send them off the call with what just went live in the app?
Yep. So we talked about it a little bit earlier, but the app now has, what are you talking about? You talking about I've been scammed button in Secure Essentials?
Nope. I'm talking about the token we did, the coin we just added. Yeah.
Yep. So now you can buy. Yep. So we've had a lot of people come at us from the XRP community. Of course, we're very embedded in the HBAR community. We're not leaving the HBAR community or the Hedera community. We're just expanding our footprint into the XRP community. And so now buying in the app. And if you're at one of our financial institution partners, you can buy and sell directly from your bank account in the most safe, secure, and protected manner possible, because all the secure essentials and all the security components that we built are working behind the scenes all day, every day, regardless if there's humans or whatever. So super excited about the XRP community, being able to hold that in the wallet and now being able to buy and sell in our wallet as well. So yeah, Anthony, it's very exciting times for sure.
That was it. You
All
all
right,
have
let's get the outro going.
a great day and a great week.
All the love and all the power, guys. Have a great day and a great week.
Thanks for
Bye,
having
guys.
us.
Thank you so much.